The Tsar's empire did not really appreciate us being there. They inherited us by coincidence, not on purpose. And so for the first time that I know of, a solution to the Jewish problem was proposed by the Tsar's advisor, Konstantin Pobedonostsev, on how to deal with the Jews. It was called the one-thirds solution, in which one-third would be forced to emigrate, one-third would be forced to convert, and one-third would just die, whether it be from pogroms or other such endeavors. They would simply die out, and thereby, between all thirds, eliminate the Jewish problem. Now, this was not an official policy. However, the May Laws of 1882, enacted by Tsar Alexander III, further restricted the rights of Jews to try to expedite this solution, encourage Jews to either get out, or convert, or die. There was, of course, fear-mongering. For those of you that don't read Russian, this little cover page says, "The Protocols of the Zionist Wise Men." How very nice of them to call us wise. Many of you know that by the title of the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. This was first published in 1897 by an Orthodox Russian monk, based on the papers of the Akhrana, the Tsar's secret police, in documents that they compiled while in France, based upon French doctrines that had nothing to do with Jews whatsoever, but a treatise on how to take down governments. They ascribed it to Jews and published it in this form. This was widely disseminated and translated into almost every language around the world. Here it is in Ukrainian, here it is in French, in Spanish, in Portuguese, and not surprisingly, in Arabic languages. And of course, let us not forget the most relevant language to us. There it is in good old American English, published by the Patriotic Publishing Company of Chicago, Illinois, not incorporated. Most governments widely accepted that this was not fact and declared it as propaganda. However, under the Russian Empire, no such declaration was ever made. Under the Soviet Empire, no such declaration was ever made. In fact, it wasn't until after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1993 that in a court case, it was finally ruled a forgery. And then let us not forget the blood libel accusations, the most famous of which is the Baylis trial of 1911 to 1913, in which Mendel Baylis, an upstanding citizen, a factory manager and former officer in the Tsar's army, was accused of ritually killing a Christian boy, puncturing him in 13 different places to extract his blood, presumably for the making of matzah, which explains why matzah today is red. No? The Baylis trial lasted from 1911 to 1913, calling many witnesses and expert testimonies. The good news is there were some righteous among the Christians as well that came to his defense. But here is a popular propaganda poster of the time featuring your typical Semitic person holding your typical head of a Orthodox Russian child and burning your typical Orthodox church with the slogan, "You will be next." Now, to me, growing up in America, this reminds me of another poster of somebody pointing and saying, "You, Uncle Sam wants you," except in this case, I'd interpret it as, "Uncle Ivan doesn't want Jew."